We're about to start part 2 right now.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad! You keep digging! You'll peg me one day.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is OAB with Dig Deep Crypto. This is part 2 of a 2-part series. Please go back and check out part 1. Has the exact same title as this one, just put part 1 instead of part 2 on it. This article here, guys, is from August 24th of 2021. And how interesting is this? It's entitled, "This Crypto Predicts Ripple, Stellar, Litecoin, and Tezos prices will break all-time highs." And the theme of my video, I come across this article here. Within it, it talks about the volume, how much is used around the world regarding each coin. One of the things about crypto, especially in this market, it's extremely hard to predict it. We don't know when it's going to go up, when it's going to go down. We just invest in what we know and we just ride the roller coaster. But I just thought that it was pretty interesting that we are going through a conflict with Russia and Ukraine as of right now in 2022. And about 5-6 months ago, this person made a prediction that these coins in particular were going to hit all-time highs. Put something down in the comment section if you guys think that this is a coincidence. If you guys have some other insider information that you're willing to disclose to us beyond my video. With that being said, let's talk about some history of the United States and banking. I was doing a bit more research because people were talking about this is World War III. So why not take a look at the US banking history of the Civil War all the way up to World War II. And there were some other areas that I wanted to highlight so we don't have to read over this entire article here. But this is eh.net, and you can search that, it'll come right up in your Google. Every time we talk about Russia and the United States, they start talking about World War III. Why not get a little bit of history about banking over here in the United States? So I want to talk about the financing of the Civil War. As this article reads, it tells us a third important element of national banking acts was that they helped the Union government pay for the war. Adopted in the midst of the Civil War, the requirement for banks to deposit U.S. bonds with the comptroller maintained the demand for Union securities and helped finance the war effort. Let's go into a different resource, but this is a book that I have and I'm not going to show it on the screen. In a book that I have, it talks about the Civil War and it talks about banking. And this is what it says about the Civil War. Quote, "When the Confederacy constitutionally seceded from the United States, the bankers once again saw the opportunity for a rich harvest of debt and offered to fund Lincoln's efforts to bring the South back into the Union by force, but at 30% interest." So they don't tell us in this article that you're seeing on the screen that there was a 30% interest that was set up for them to get monies to fund the war. Lincoln, using his authority as president, he issued a new government currency called the Greenback. Our cryptocurrency currently right now is similar to the Greenback. This is how London or UK thought about this idea of the Greenback. Quote, If this mischievous financial policy, which has its origin in North America, becomes entrenched, then that government will issue its own money without cost. It will pay off debts and be without debt. It will have all the money necessary to carry on its commerce. It will become prosperous to a degree which is without precedent in the history of the world. The brains and wealth of all countries will migrate to North America. That country must be destroyed, or it will destroy every monarchy on the globe. End quote. This is the London Times responding to Lincoln's decision to issue government greenbacks to finance the Civil War, rather than agree to private bankers' loans at 30% interest. In our public school system here in the States, they don't necessarily tell us everything we need to know about our own history. You have to cross-reference to get a better understanding of what is and what is not. I also want to read a little bit further just about the central banks and how these things operate here in the world. Quote, in 1913, the private central bankers of Europe, in particular the Rothschilds of Great Britain and the Warburgs of Germany, met with their American financial collaborators on Jekyll Island, Georgia, to form a new banking cartel with the express purpose of forming the third bank of the United States, with the aim of placing complete control of the United States money supply once again under the control of private bankers. That third bank is called the Federal Reserve. End quote. Quote, later in 1913, apparently unwillingly to risk another questionable amendment, Congress passed the Federal Reserve Act over Christmas holiday, while members of Congress who were opposed to the measure were at home. This was a very underhanded deal, as a constitution which explicitly grants Congress the authority to issue the public currency does not authorize it to delegate that authority to another party. And so it should have required a new amendment to allow Congress to transfer that authority to a private bank. But Congress passed it, and President Woodrow Wilson signed it, as he had promised the bankers that he would do in exchange for a generous campaign contribution. But Wilson later regretted that decision, as he stated in 1919. End quote. This is what Wilson said. I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is now controlled by its system of credit. We are no longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men. End quote. And to take one more read, we're going to begin here. Quote, the very next year, World War I started. And it is important to remember that prior to the creation of the Third Bank of the United States, which is now named the Federal Reserve, there was no such thing as a world war. End quote. Now take your eyes back to the screen as we're going to go forward here with this article. During this time, from the Civil War to World War II, there were plenty of bank failures. We see here in Table 2, you go by year, and you can see all the bank failures. How did they attempt to remedy the banking crisis? Currently now, we know that we are shifting into a new financial system, so there's going to be some bank failures. Bank failures occur when banks are unable to meet the demands of their creditors. Banks typically do not hold 100% of their liabilities in reserves, instead holding some fraction of demandable liabilities in reserves, as long as the flow of funds into and out of the bank are more or less in balance. That's their accounting. A withdrawal of deposits that exceeds the bank's reserves, however, can lead to the bank's temporary suspension or their inability to pay, or, if protracted, failure. The surge in withdrawals can have a variety of causes, including depositor concern about the bank's solvency, as well as worries about other banks' solvency that lead to a general distrust of all banks. Let's take a look at the crisis of 1907 and the founding of the Federal Reserve. In 1907, which had been brought under control by a coalition of trust companies and other chartered banks and clearinghouse members led by J.P. Morgan, led to a reconsideration of the monetary system in the United States. The eventual result of this investigation was the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, which would establish the Federal Reserve System as the central bank of the United States. Unlike other countries that had one central bank, like the Bank of England or the Bank of France, the Federal Reserve Act provided a system of between 8 to 12 reserve banks. 12 were eventually established under the act, although during debate over the act, some had called for as many as one reserve bank per state. This provision, like the rejection of the first two attempts at a central bank, resulted in part from America's antipathy towards centralized monetary authority. So back when they started the Federal Reserve, people wanted a decentralized banking system. Now we are 100 years later looking like we are going to a decentralized banking system. So what was the goal? Before banks, people had gold and people bartered. After banks, we had banknotes, IOUs. That's like the Bretton Woods moment. What is the goal of an elastic currency? The stated goals of the Federal Reserve Act were to furnish an elastic currency, to furnish the means of rediscounting commercial paper, to establish a more effective supervision of banking in the United States, and for other purposes. Furnishing an elastic currency was an important goal of the act, since none of the components of the money supply, gold and silver certificates, national banknotes, were able to expand or contract particularly rapidly. The inelasticity of money supply, along with the seasonal fluctuations in money demand, had led to a number of panics in the national banking era. That's currently where we're at now. Let me show you how Ripple XRP makes money extremely elastic. Remember, inelasticity means that you're not able to stretch it out. You're not able to really move it how you want to move it. So XRP has solved that problem for years going forward. This is how. The very first ledger contained 100 billion XRP, and no new XRP can be created. That makes you think that it would be inelastic. However, XRP is slightly deflationary by nature, and there's no need to worry about any of it running out though. At the current rate of destruction, it would take at least 70,000 years to destroy all XRP. And XRP prices and fees can be adjusted as the total supply of XRP changes. So that's how XRP can be extremely elastic. In addition, XRP is measured precisely to the nearest 0.00001 XRP, called a drop of XRP. Per 1 XRP, there are 1 million drops. When we look at Bitcoin and we have a coin that's worth $50,000, and if somebody owns 0.01 of that, they may own $500 of that Bitcoin. If they own 0.001, it may be $50 of Bitcoin. That's what these drops are. These drops allow for you to move the money in different decimals that represents a lesser value. If you have 1 XRP, that would equal $1 million, potentially. Not as of right now, but if XRP ever got to that price, then that would be able to move a whole lot of money with no issues without running out of XRP, because there's 100 billion of them. The value of XRP will increase as usage increases. So Ripple is a digital currency that will survive 70,000 years based off of its smart contract, based off of how it's created. This is the evolution of money. These are coins that you want to potentially have in your portfolio. This is not financial advice. Tezos, Stellar, XRP, the ISO messaging coins. These should be a part of your portfolio. The entire world's money are going to move on these coins, and not limited here. There are a couple of other coins that I look at as well. Some of them have their footprint in social networking and gaming, but there are a lot of meme coins that are not going to make it. They're not worth your time. You want to put your money in places where you can store them offline, so you will not be the ones that may be or may not be under the power of a CBDC. You want to be able to have some investments elsewhere, being prepared for a bank failure. If you like this video, like, subscribe, make sure you put your notifications on, because here on this channel we want to dig deep into cryptocurrency, blockchain. We're going to look at NFTs and metaverse and all the other kind of stuff as that time comes. This is a 3-year mission here on this channel. We're going to stay dedicated to giving you potent, extremely important information about the industry that we are going to and the new financial system that is right around the corner from being launched.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad! You keep digging! You'll thank me one day.